All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here under these circumstances that, as I say it, we shouldn't be here. I want to thank you all for coming out. I know it's short notice. I asked some members of our community, the Guyanese community and other communities, to come together, and you all. And we are here to offer words of encouragement, prayers, some solutions, but to let the Guyanese people know that we are in unison with them. July 18th, 2026 would be the most tragic maritime that ever came on the shores of Guyana. Some of you all, like myself, know that we've many times used those vessels. And like me, I thought of my life right away as a little girl. So I just wanted us to, by the way, we are here at Caribbeanlifetv, and we are broadcasting live. And your words mean everything. Just know that. I'm going to ask some of the panel to come up as we begin our program and we get into some more dialogue. Archbishop Jason E. Owen, if you can come up to the podium. Thank you for coming out. Marcus Garton, the president of the Guyana Association of Georgia. I know we'll ask Lawrence, who is the founder of Caribbeanlifetv Studios and radio here where we are, for hosting this for us on short notice. So thank you for opening the doors to us. Thank you for utilizing your platform like you always do when we have a crisis such as this one. And so we all know the power of media. It goes a long way. And we want the people home to feel our energy and to know that we care. We've all been watching. I've been crying for days because I was one of those little girls traveling on a ferry. So I asked these gentlemen to sit with me as we begin our program, and we'll have some talks. So first, let's start with the foundation as we know it to be, prayers. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabrina. Let's pray. Lord God, we thank you, first of all, that you have seen it fit to giving us this opportunity to have a voice that will indeed permeate the ears of so many across these radio waves, across these video settings. God, we pray that you will comfort the bereaved families, comfort each and every one of us, because as Guyanese, we are one big extended family. And we look to you as the Father of mercy and the God of all comfort, knowing that you're able to comfort us so much so that we will not only benefit from it personally, but we will be able to, with the same comfort wherewith you comfort us, to turn around and comfort one another. We pray this, therefore, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Sit down. So July 18th, 2026, it was another journey as I see it. It was another day. Families who used the ferries from different stellings in Guyana to go home, to go on vacation. And it left the capital of Guyana, Georgetown, for one of the villages with our indigenous people, Port Kaituma. Just some backstory about Guyana. We are a country, the only English-speaking country in South America. Guyana has 10 races of people. And some of you represent those races here. I'm sorry, 6 races, 10 regions. I'm getting ahead of myself. And some of you all represent that. And so as we sit and saw all that's transpired, we couldn't believe what we saw. Social media began to highlight what we saw. That journey is over 20 plus hours. 24. And so as they embark, families, workers, children, lots of children, their goal was to just go back home because they've went away on their little vacation. As we saw some of the stories, I'm sure some of you all have already identified with some of those human life experiences. You knew the mother who said, "This man saved my daughter, but his life was taken." You knew the mother who lost all 7 of her children. You knew the mother who lost her baby. I mean, the stories went on and on. And so as they're traveling in the middle of the night, the goal was to go back home and get back to their lives as they know it. And that never happened. About 10 p.m., they will tell you, because there is no record, that the vessel capsized. And of course, as we sit here, there's all angles to it. But what we do know, it did capsize with lots of children, hard-working families. That's never really happened like that in Guyana. Not that many people all at the same time in that region. What do you do with that? What do you do with that? You know, as we watched and cried, because that's all we can do as we're looking in, I'm sure many of you had those experiences growing up, that experience growing up. Like me, I said, "Oh God, what did I dodge a bullet?" That's how you feel, you know? And as I was on the radio a second ago, it's just a way of life. Because as you all know, all the different stories of substandard conditions you're hearing. Why? Why did they go on it? Because that's their only option. Many will tell you, "I don't have the money for airfare." We are a country that's surrounded by waters. Boat is everything. Vessel, ferry, whatever you want to call it. That's all they know. And so it was just another day. Leaving the capital, going back home. The children had bought fancy clothes. You know, I'm sure you will smile. You remember when holiday time will come and your parents will buy you your little fancy outfits. And she said, "Taking you to Tongue." You know, I'm a country girl. And so I'm sure some of you reflect back on your little small days. Whether it's taking a ferry. Some of you have never taken a ferry. But a lot of us do. That's our way of life. And so I want you all to feel comfortable in sharing your experiences, sharing words that you feel they ought to hear. Not just the families, but the people of Guyana. We see a lot of commotion right now where they are pretty upset. And a lot is happening in real time. Things that we never thought we heard before when it comes to these type of vessels. Why they go on it? They ain't see the thing overloaded? All of these questions. When that's your way of life and you have no other option, that's the way of life. You don't have any other option. Even if you feel in your heart, you may or may not make it. They're not thinking like that. They've taken that trips many a times. And so when we saw what the world saw, were going. You mean to tell me we can have a better vessel for them? They may. They didn't see a reason to buck the system, if you will, or complain. It was just another day that they should be home with their families. They've taken the trips many a time. So I'm going to pass. Well, you have the microphone. Mr. Marcus, if you can. So Mr. Marcus is the president of the Guyana Association. You can give us some words. I know you just had your monthly meeting, the third Sundays every month. We have the meeting here of the Guyana Association of Georgia. If you would like to share some of your insights and words.
Thank you very much, Sabrina, for hosting this event, this vigil. I think it's very important. The people in Guyana are going through a very traumatic time as a result of this event. It's probably, as you said, the largest maritime disaster in Guyanese history. And there's so many questions. And my first thought is this is a wake-up call for Guyana as a whole in terms of how we deal with safety, regardless of whether you travel by road or by vessel. And as of course, know in the Northwest District, there's no road network leading to Port Kaituma or Mabaruma, so you have to go either by boat or by plane from Ogle. So I was amazed that the journey on that vessel was supposed to take 24 hours. I said, my. And most of it on the Atlantic Ocean. And then I learned today, I guess you guys may have heard, that the MV Burima did not have an anchor, which is hard to even comprehend. How a boat is going to be traveling on the ocean doesn't have an anchor, you know? So, I mean, there's so many things you learn now. I also learned today that one of the people who they thought was on the manifest and probably dead, is alive. So there are people who, one of the things about this tragedy is that we will never know how many people actually was on that vessel. We can't know. Because people who were rescued, their names didn't appear in the manifest. And then there's a guy's name who was on the manifest is alive. She thought he was dead. So, you know, we'll never know the exact number of people who have perished as a result of that disaster. So that's another thing. And going back to the vessel itself, which is, as we say, 87 years old, maybe that vessel should not even be on the water. It's probably not seaworthy. But I guess we can get more facts about that as the Commission of Inquiry continues their work. But on behalf of the Guyana Association, I just want to offer support to the families who were affected, and also to the people of Guyana who are really going through a tremendous period of sadness and sorrow at this whole incident. It's really disturbed. It's very disturbing looking at some of the footage and YouTube and TV reports about this incident, you know. And so it's very, very troubling, and I just want to, on behalf of the Guyana Association, offer support and condolences to the people, and hopefully some good is going to come out of this tragedy. We can look at all the ferries, wherever they go in Guyana, to make sure there's adequate safety, there's enough, you know, life jackets. The vessels are all seaworthy, they're properly certified, they meet basic international standards. You know, all these sort of things come into play as a result of this disaster. It's really opened our minds to and the whole question of safety. Maybe we need to rethink how we address the safety issue in Guyana. And I think these are some of the issues that are brought to light from this incident. Okay? Yeah. So, thank you.
Can I call Mr. Slater Jeffrey up? Thank you, sir. Mr. Slater, as we know, we call him the Buxton son. I had the pleasure of doing some nonprofit work with Slater because he's so, his area in Buxton, whatever the villages call, I didn't have it, but we know they love you and you do so much. And I was in Guyana. What year was that, Slater, when we went and fed the kids and the community came out. Again, you do so much. But that, I've never been to Buxton in my life till I met you. As some of you all know, you ain't been all over Guyana. And so I had even called my mom and said, I went to Buxton. She said, what you doing there? And I said, I met Mr. Slater. He's from the Guyana Association. He does nonprofit for the children there and give them hope and so much that you do for them. I know you are always home. You see a lot. You are entrenched. You are a voice for the voiceless. And so I want your how you're feeling. I know you just got off a Zoom and you're doing some things coming up. So let's hear.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. Thank you, Brother Owen, and my dear brother Marcus, and the audience for your attendance and presence and support to this tragic event that should not have happened. It's difficult to be non-aggressive about this situation. I do a lot in Guyana. And for those of you who don't know, I'm a heart transplant recipient. And so as a consequence of all the struggle and support that I've got with people to help me stay alive, I have decided to commit the rest of my life to be of support to the people of Guyana. I was just coming off a Zoom meeting where I put a group together. We are planning a cassava processing training for the first week in October. We're looking at 25 individuals coming from just about all the regions in Guyana. The objective is to get individuals who are in business to learn about the 21 different products that you can get from cassava, which includes the popular cassava bread, casserie, and the rest. And hopefully that will be replicated. This would be a first one we are going to be doing, and hopefully we replicate it around the country. The whole idea is to be able to make people more self-sufficient and give people an opportunity to explore the products and potential we have in Guyana. With respect to this issue that we're here to represent, I cannot help to say that this has been the worst systemic failure of the system in Guyana. This is a repeat of several systemic failures. I don't want to identify and repeat any of them, but it is. And I was talking to my very good friend last night, Dr. Vincent Adams, because I wanted to get some ideas from him before I come before the audience today. Dr. Vincent Adams is an environmentalist, is a leading petroleum engineer. He's a top petroleum engineer in the United States. He was the number 3 man in the Barack Obama administration, the Department of Energy, in charge of nuclear energy. And he has been the EPA person under the Granger administration. He's the guy that Exxon feared, right? Very dynamic, very good guy. He says, Slater, I want you to let the folks know that this has been a systemic failure that should never have happened, right? And he talked about when the signal was sent out at 10 o'clock the night. It was received at Timeri, and when that signal was reached out, what was supposed to happen from then didn't take place. You see? So there's nothing in place for when these things happen, right? So it took them 7 hours for the Coast Guards to get to the site. So these survivors were in the water for 7 hours in a little life raft, a piece of cardboard, some what you call it, a refrigerator or something they can hold on to. they were sitting in that water. And these few 72, 73 persons were able to survive. Even a 9-year-old girl was able to save a 13-year-old because she could swim and held on to, and she was a survivor. So this is a systemic failure. And the situation with the boat and the seaworthiness of the boat, right? We're not going into politics, but we're looking at the issue at hand. There's a culture of corruption in Guyana, right? Now, with respect to the loading and the passenger in the boat, right? I remember during the Granger administration, they decided to stop the corruption of people going on the boat without ticket, people loading stuff they shouldn't load. So they hired David Patterson hired some inspectors. And these people were the ones who were there to supervise the loading of the passengers, making sure the manifest fits the passengers going in. The loading was recorded, the weight taken. And in addition, they had supervisors who would inspect the vessel to make sure that the engines are working, the systems are in place. All right. But in 2020, when the new administration took over, they fired all those people. And what they did, I think during the Granger administration, people were saying we're not making any money. Money not make, that's how they say it. Money not make, because he had so many safeguards and protection against corruption and stealing and bribery, right? So when they fire those inspectors, then the hustle start, right? So people are now able to get on the boat, call up your buddy, get a little fast pass or something, and they get on the boat, right? And then people want to load the boat. People want to load the boat with all kinds of cargo, right? And you know telling what's going on the boat, right? So there's no proper inspection, safeguard, or whatever. And it makes you want to think, why or they don't want to raise the boat? What is in the boat that you don't want to raise the boat, right? And one of the reasons I spoke to Dr. Adams last night is to find out from him what are the possibilities and what are the constraints with respect to raising the boat, so that we in Atlanta can probably take on the challenge of securing the resources to provide that support to get that boat out of the bottom of the sea, so that we can secure the bones of the family. Some of them want to just have the bones of the family. They are cringing about this, to know that their family is done under the sea. So that's one of the things. We were not prepared. The administration was not prepared for this calamity, right? And they don't know how to deal with the crisis on hand. And people are refusing to tell the truth, to speak the truth. And there's no unity and collaboration. One good thing that I am happy about is that the little opposition groups were able to come together and work as a team. That team should have included the administration. You need to have all hands on deck on a crisis like this. You don't need to have the division of your people. And that is what is going on right now, right? So we're not having another thing. I was talking to my friend William Thomas. He's a psychologist, right? And he's going to go down to Guyana, I think, sometime soon. But we need a bunch of psychologists to go down and help. I'm wondering if there's a way we can use this forum to get through to all our family members and friends who have connection with psychologists, psychiatrists, right? That they can provide their services to go to Guyana to provide that yeoman service. And I'm certain if we find persons to go down to help, I would be able to even mobilize some accommodation from people that I know to accommodate them for the time that they have to spend. Right? Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yes. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah. So we're talking about the psychological services that are seriously required and right now. And people are going crazy. Right? And there had been some very bothersome interaction between the state and individuals who have survived. Imagine this family, the mother and the baby daughter. Those two persons were rescued by the opposition leader. Because when he got the stuff, he left at 5 o'clock in the morning. Sunday morning, he went out with his own boat, carried supplies, and started the rescue process. The first person he was able to rescue was a little baby, 2-3 years old. And then he found the mother, right? Those two persons were put in a plywood box. They used an excavator to dig a hole and throw them in there in that little box. And that angered a lot of people right now, right? They had a meeting at the State House day before yesterday with the families. This particular family asked the president if they can get a dignified burial for the mother and the baby. The president told them that we'll take care, we'll pay for the tomb, but you will have to be responsible to removing the earth, picking up the body, and take it to the place, right? And then he told I think that was the brother of the lady, right? He told him that if he takes any video or pictures, in fact, while he was telling him that, he called the police inspector next door. He said, tell this young man, I want you to go and observe this process, and if he takes any pictures or any video, I want you to lock him up. The president told him that, right? And so Muhammad stepped in because he got the story. And he promised the family that he's going to provide, because they refused to get the same excavator that they dug the hole. They say it's not available. The NDC doesn't have it, it's not available. So he said he's going to provide that excavator. And he's going to make sure that they get the body and they have a dignified funeral. You know, things like this. This should never be. This is conflict, right? You cannot have this kind of conflict. That's why you need people with the resources for conflict resolution, right? There's a lot of agony and pain, right? Then the captain and the 2 crew members, right? These guys stay in the water 7 hours. And then when they pick them up, they test them for drugs and said they had drugs and they were drinking. And they didn't get to go and hug the guy. They didn't get to go and hug their wives or their girlfriend or their children. They charged them, locked them up, and then yesterday they remand them and give them 72 charges of murder. Could you imagine that? These guys didn't even get to change their clothes. They locked them up in the same clothes and sent them in the jail. You see the level of anger? And so I had to mention this. We need to be able to address our the powers that be and let them know how we feel, right? This should not happen again. And the responsibility is in our hands to make sure that this does not happen again. So my thing is, to recap, we got to stop this systemic failures. We got to stop this hustling, right? People, this one know this one, so this one, we got to stop that. So that's what's going on right now. The level of corruption is causing all these failures. And the people are not getting the right support that they need to get from the state. And this is hurting them. So, and it's not just the family and of the immediate survivors. It's the whole of Guyana right now. All of Guyana is crying out, right? And we don't want this to end up in violence. We want this to be a peaceful resolution of this issue and be able to bring some comfort to these families immediately. This is what we need, right? And the other thing too is that we have to find the right source. We got to be able to make donations to these families to find ways to help them to get basic supplies. These people have lost just about everything, right? And so I'm hoping that we can, I don't know what you have in mind for donation, but I think we should try to raise some funds to provide some support in some small way to the family, right? Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Slater. Thank you, thank you. I'm going to come back to some of those because I have some things written down. I know it off the top of my head because I knew exactly. And again, this is my thoughts. We want to see if you all share the same sentiments. If anybody wants to, Governor, you have that microphone? If anybody wants to give comments, you're welcome to do so. He has the microphone. Whether it's your experience or how you're feeling. Because this is trauma for all of us. We may not have been affected directly, but we are affected. That's most of our homeland, where we came from. And fortunately for us, social media has the tool where we see things we normally wouldn't have seen, say, 10, 15 years ago. So the people are letting us know what's happening in the streets, if you will. And we are grateful and thankful for those things being highlighted. And as Slater says, I want to get to the right people to see how we can help. I have some other thoughts in a second, but anybody has the mic? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to say I agree with most of the things that Mr. Slater said. But to me, the most pressing thing right now is the mental health crisis. Because even before this tragedy, Guyana had a mental health crisis. I mean, I grew up with my parents saying if I feel a little depressed, oh, you're not depressed, just go and take a walk or something, right? So we really never acknowledged mental health in Guyana, the Caribbean as a whole, Black people as a whole, let's be honest. But right now, beyond those families need it the most. The survivors need it. Their relatives need it. I feel like the whole country can benefit from mental health resources right now. So it would be really beneficial for us to come up with some kind of a way that we can extend those resources down there. I personally don't have an idea of that right now, but I would love to be a part of whatever that cause is of how we can get mental health resources down to Guyana, because, I mean, I can't even imagine. I have 4 children. I can't imagine losing all 4 of them in one swipe. I can't imagine losing one. What is that lady, what does her life look like right now? She's gonna need a lot of mental health resources to be poured into her. And most of it is they don't have the funds. So I feel like the government did not set up, when things happen here, even in schools, the first thing that happened is we have counselors on site for these people of this tragedy or their families, extended friends, or whoever to talk to. There was no such thing, nothing. It's just, here is $60,000, move on. That is sad. I found it so offensive to think that they believe that our lives, and I say our because we're all Guyanese, is worth so little. That pissed me off. and no additional resources, that's all I have to say.
Yep. Anyone needs the microphone? And we'll come back.
Say something.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, a lot of folks are talking about making donations, but we have to have. I don't know if the Red Cross. Normally, here the Red Cross is one of the activities. Like when there's an earthquake in Haiti, remember, the Red Cross became the important body where people could send donations. I don't know how active the Red Cross is in Guyana, because we don't want to be sending money to the government.
No.
We want to have an agency in Guyana, like the Red Cross, something like that, where you can send donations from the diaspora, and they would know who the families are and try to get some relief and supplies to the families concerned. So we need to identify an agency in Guyana. I don't know how the Red Cross is functioning. I don't hear their name being mentioned. I know there used to be a Red Cross in Guyana when I grew up there. If it still exists, I don't know.
Right.
But we need to find out if they can be like a coordinating agency where funds raised in the diaspora can be sent to them and they distribute to the families in need, the immediate survivors and their relatives, you know? So something like that needs to be worked out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I had planned to reach out to some people I know that are kind of like a slate, if you will, that we trust. So yeah, I don't plan for us to just send stuff. We have to make sure, because this is one of those things when things like this occur, you have other people who it probably could get into the hands of. As we talk about the mental health aspect,
Give him the mic.
Caribbean shipping with Sharon Barnwell would be an excellent source for to collect donations and supplies. But what I can do, I can speak with her and see if we can establish that as a source of receipt for that. Yeah, and then she'll be able to do the money transfer and the items transfer when it comes to that. I'll make a conversation with her tomorrow. Yes.
I actually spoke to Dr. Adams last night too. I know he's traveling, and I wanted him to try to call in, but I know he's handling some things. He said, we'll talk when I get back. Those are the voice of reason I reach out to, Slater reach out to. These men, I felt like Guyana didn't deserve them, yet they gave their time, their expertise, and they chose to let them go because they were not the ones that took anything under the table. And Dr. Vincent is one of those people. And he would have been the perfect person to be in a position to help navigate this, but they chose to let him go. He didn't have to go back home. He did. Like many of us, myself, I always said, how can I serve Guyana? And he was actually mentoring me. When I went home, when the Granger administration was still there right before they came out of office, he took me around. And he said, Sabrina, your voice is needed. And I would want to, so he introduced me to all these different facets of government. And he said, your voice is needed. Your expertise is needed. And then we can have you bring on some people. So I think some of you will agree. Many of us reached out. They didn't want to reach back. They felt as though we looked down upon them. And I'm not talking some of the people. I'm talking people in high positions. They feel as though you come over here and you want to show off. No, we still love Guyana. We have been privy to come here, and we have some expertise that you all need. And that's one of the things I was always saying, hopefully one day I can go back and help my country some kind of ways. You know, the thing about empowering people, they may tell you, I may not have a lot, but the words you gave me help me. You can't take words from people. It does something to them. It affects them. And when they get that, they can utilize it to help navigate their lives. And so whether it's words, whether it's action, many of us have the resources. As we look towards solution, and we can't go over everything today, but there was a couple of areas that I saw that they can fix. They meaning the government. Because if the people are crying out, what you don't want is it to bubble up. It seems as though they're provoking the people. You cannot provoke people who already are down. And when you provoke them, other things happen. They then go on into the streets and harm each other. And that's one of my concerns, that this level of not just disrespect, but inhumane treatment, of not wanting this vessel to come up, that alone, families are down there. However you find them, there's technology this government can enlist. People have given them the information. Let me come help you. And you refuse? Why? So that's when passionate people like us come on the airwaves and said just something as simple as bringing up a vessel, which we know have bodies. We don't know what condition they're in. You never know. It could be God saying, I got a miracle down here. Give the people that. But I know they're not going to rest, Slater. They're not resting. They are not resting, and they have to hold this government. Government can say, oh, and I heard people say, oh, they've been traveling like that for so long. Now you have the opportunity, this government, to say, you know what? The last administration didn't do nothing about it. The one before that didn't do anything about it. You now are in a position to demonstrate good governance, leadership, compassion, all of these things. Why you choose not to do it? It's not that hard.
Well, Sabrina, here's the thing, right? Not that I'm advocating for any violence, but maybe that's what you need, right? Maybe these people need to get together and do something, because clearly there's no respect for the people. There's no respect for the lives that I've lost, right? And sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, right? Mr. Slater said something that's very troubling to me, is that all the safety precautions were in place and they removed them. Someone has to be held accountable. Not the captain, not the people working on the boat. The person who removed those things that were in place to keep the people safe, to make sure these vessels properly operating on the seas and taking people back and forth safely. Why would you remove that? That is the question that you have to ask. And those are the people who needs to be held accountable. Right? You can't start at the bottom. You have to start at the top, because they're the ones implementing what needs to be done and how they want it to be done. Now something happens, you're going to reach for the person at the bottom to throw it on them. That's not how that works. So as a community, everyone should get together, all the different facets of Guyanese and community organizations, Caribbean organizations, and we need to form something that sounds down there to implement some kind of change or some kind of accountability, because what's being done is very disrespectful all around. For what I'm hearing, it's disrespectful to the people, it's disrespectful to the country, it's disrespectful to the community. I'm here having people ask me, like, why are every other country and outlet in the Caribbean reporting on this except Guyana?
Wow, that's profound.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Bayesians, the Trinis, everyone is reporting on this thing. There's nothing coming out from the Guyanese people and the Guyanese news pertaining to this situation. Why is that?
Censorship. Media censorship. And you all let me know what time we're working with. So we know the vessel, as you all know, if you didn't know, it's still at the bottom of the ocean. For the folks listening, the opposition party leader has offered to raise it. And I remember thinking to myself, I know he could offer it, and he'd end up doing that. But what we don't want, some people say, well, he don't need their permission. And I think because of the climate, if he does go and try to touch that vehicle, that vessel, they now will say, I have a reason to silence you. Remember, he has a voice for the voice. He is the voice for the voiceless right now. Not all of them, but for the folks that believe in him and his leadership. And you have to be very careful with having voices removed from your communities. They already don't have a voice. And this one voice happens to be wealthy, happens to show us what's happening, and offered to bring it up. I'll do it. But he can't touch that thing. Now, just think about that for a second. He wants to, but can't. Because that's the ammunition they need to say, he's touched a crime scene. And a plethora of other things they can charge him with. So that is the insensitive part that I have a problem with. And that's why I say, these people that are still mourning, still know 30 plus people are still missing. And if you all have read what you've read and how the boat was structured, those were the people probably at the bottom with a lot of the cargo. And they probably have been they were probably pinned with cargo. That's why a bunch of them have not been accounted for. And yes, some may have float, but I feel that's where the 30 plus have been, because they've been pinned under there with all the extra things and all the inaccuracies, if you will, in terms of operation for this vessel. That could be evidence that, I don't know, they just don't want us to know. I mean, I don't see no other way. Bring it up. Give them closure. That's the compassion for this government. I feel they have an opportunity to fix this wrong. Fix it. And as I say, with any country island, the president or the prime minister say what goes. He can make one phone call and end all of this suffering right now. Not Minister of Public Works and all these fancy titles, but the president. If you are listening, or anybody is close to the president of Guyana, you can make one phone call and end the suffering. The lives are gone. Just that one thing. And then you can begin to put protocol in place. They want to talk about crew on drugs. Oh, you don't test people before they operate these vessels? Like they do the airplane and so on? So then you have protocol that you didn't even adhere to, or you just don't have them in place. And these old vessels, old stelling, rotten. I'm 55 years old. Rotten stelling. I've been saying, fix the stelling. Give those people some dignity. And that's just the vessel. We haven't talked about the land transportation. You saw your life flash before you when you go home. Waiting 4 or 5 hours to get a minibus. And I said, put some buses. I grew up on a tandem bus. Ferry tandem bus I grew up with. And you had the higher car. That was for the fancy people. I said, is it hard to bring back that for the elderly and the I don't like to say poor people, but as I call it, the underserved community? Some people may want to take the minibus, but a lot of people just don't. So you've got your sea and land and air that you need to fix and give these people dignity, because you clearly have not given them just that human basic right.
I wanted to say that 2 days ago there was this GlobeSpan yes, with the attorney Dadadin, he's Indian attorney, and he was making the point that Mohammed does not need permission to raise the boat. No one needs permission to raise the boat. He can get that. He can raise the boat without getting permission.
Well, so
Excuse me.
Hold on, Sister.
So
Yeah. This vessel is a government-owned vessel.
Yes, yes.
So they can say, look, we have jurisdiction over this. You know?
Right.
So
remember, he's already
Yeah.
their worst enemy.
So we gotta be careful. Yeah.
Well, I think we can, it doesn't have to be him. It can be the people of Atlanta, the Guyanese of Atlanta are calling for the boat to be raised immediately. And then we can seek the resource that he or anyone else can find. His name doesn't have to be there, and let the boat come up. It doesn't have to be him. And that's why I didn't get to talk with Dr. Adams about how we're gonna, so I got to talk to him again as to how we can make it happen. We can do that sourcing from here in Atlanta. That can be our project. That's right.
I just want to talk a little bit about it. The vessel, as you know, was 87 years old. But they had bought a vessel from India about 3 years ago. I think it's called the MV Militia. Now, this MV Militia is much larger than the Burima. It's almost twice the size. However, it cannot go to Port Kaituma because the wharf or the docking facilities or the stelling is not up to par. Contracts were awarded, hundreds of millions of dollars, and then when the contractor probably reached a certain point, they realized now that the soil started, they didn't do any soil survey, so, or they didn't put drive enough piles to secure the foundation, so the soil started to shift. So that's why that stelling at Port Kaituma is not finished. Therefore, the new vessel cannot go, and which could take more people and more cargo, because it's twice the size of the Burima. It's sitting in Georgetown, Kingston, or wherever. And that's why the people are suffering. Now that this vessel has gone down, I don't know what is going to service the people in Port Kaituma. You know? There's nothing for the people who are alive and live there and work there, and because it's a mining community and farming community. How are they going to survive in that area? You know? Yeah.
I just wanted to think logically, humanely. Logically, they're not. Humanely, that word does not exist in their vocabulary. We're talking also about systemic failures. Now, if the logic is not in place and they're not being humane, how are we going to ensure that what we do from this end is going to be adopted over there, and the people who deserve, should be getting the aid, are going to get the aid? So we have to have a system in place there as well, because it's all well and good. We have systems here to ensure that we can get supplies there. But what is going to happen once it gets to Guyana?
We have people ready.
We have people, you can guarantee that.
That's
And
right.
it will be coordinated.
I can guarantee that.
Coordination, not
Yeah.
just,
I can guarantee that.
okay, okay.
I have a question. Was that boat, when it comes to the safety part of it, was it insured?
No.
Because
That's a very good question. The government, as a policy, decided they were going to self-insure. I mean, there was no insurance, so whenever any loss of life or whatever equipment, the government is responsible. So I'm saying the government has to pay all the families who have lost and the survivors, whatever suffering they have. The government needs to reimburse them or compensate them rather for whatever losses they have covered with. Yeah? Yeah. It's high. But don't worry about that. This government has a lot of money. Guyana,
Exactly.
hold on a
So we
second.
should start there.
Guyana is producing 900,000 barrels of oil every day. Every single day. There's enough money available for the government to compensate all the families.
The people.
You know, People
The
might have to lawyer up.
The
They might
people.
have to- yeah, the people.
The people.
They'll have to go to the courts. They'll have to
Yes.
go to the courts.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what's happening right now, there's a secret coup taking place in Guyana. I think the people are rising up and they're taking civil action, their own action, right? Because they realize the government is rotting from inside. They are rotting, they are weakening, right? They cannot stand up to anything. So leaders are emerging. And they're not emerging, they're emerging with strategic, with thinking, and serious people are emerging to take on the responsibility that the government is failing to do. The people are getting ready to take it over, and that has to happen. We cannot rely on them anymore. They've become disabled in their functioning. Because when a young lady approaches you in the National Assembly as a prime minister, right? And she's trying to talk to you about some aid and whatever, and you gonna shout on her and holler on her and all of that. It means that when people shout and scream at people, that's a sign of weakness, right? Right? So they are weakened. They don't have the strength. So we cannot rely on them anything. So we have to let the people take responsibility to take this thing going forward. Yes.
So, on a couple of things I want to address. On the topic of the oil, we're not even getting 25% of the proceeds from that oil. It doesn't make sense to touch the oil because the amount of money that we're getting from the oil, it doesn't make sense, right? I think they're getting like 12% or something like that. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? It's ludicrous to do that. 2%. Oh, I overshot my thing. Right. You're getting 2% out of the oil being produced in your country. It doesn't make sense. Logically, it doesn't make sense. That's just for greed. Someone wants the money and they want to make whatever money they can make out of it. It doesn't benefit the country. You're losing more than you're gaining with that. But I don't want to stray away from the conversation. In my opinion, I think they don't want to raise the vessel because that's going to place the blame on the people that it needs to go on, right? Because the gross negligence of that ship being underwater, it should not be. But come to find out, there's a very nice boat for the people that they're partying on that the people are not getting to travel on, right? So in raising that boat now, accountability has to be taken, right? Because you're going to see the load that's on the boat. You're going to see some of the people who are in positions on that boat that should not be there because a lot of people were not logged on the boat because they're getting paid to take them across the water. You know what I mean? So you have to understand what's going on with that boat being raised. If that boat comes up, then a lot of people is going to have to be held accountable for that boat being on the water.
Cargo.
Yeah.
For the cargo.
Exactly. You know, so, and once again, why is the Guyana media not on top of this situation? Why is the Guyana media not on top of this situation, right? So the government have their hands on everything and trying to cover it up, but the reality is that's going to blow up in their face because everyone else is talking about this. We're all the way in Georgia, in America, and we're discussing it here. And we have questions that we can't get any answers to because nothing is being reported properly for us to get any kind of answers. We're getting things from the people who actually was in the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So something needs to be done and the community needs to come together and stick together and move forward with addressing the concerns and everything that needs to be addressed.
We are trying to call Dr. Adams to give some words here. Did you lose him? Just call him and then we'll... How does this work? You put the microphone to it?
Yeah, we're going to put the microphone. I got to take it off my headset.
Oh.
You want to call him? You want to call him?
Sabrina.
Yes.
I have a comment. Yeah. I agree with what. I'm sorry, sir. What? Pardon? Governor, I agree with what the governor is saying. There needs to be more widespread attention to this incident or this accident with the Guyanese media. I'm seeing it all over, like we've mentioned, CNN. I've even seen it, The Guardian, and that's a UK news outlet. Even Al Jazeera, right? Everybody else is bringing major attention to this except the Guyanese media, and that's a problem. Like, it really needs to be addressed with them. And I understand because the government kind of controls the Guyanese media, so they probably don't want to bring the attention. Yeah, right. Bring the attention where it needs to be, but I'd say screw it. Like, it needs to be found out. It needs to be addressed. Like, this is crazy.
Dr. Adams, hold on, we got Dr. Adams on here quick. Okay. Excuse me, Dr. Adams, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead. We have you live at the vigil.
Oh. You hear me?
You can call him directly. Differently.
Do you want us to call you on the regular phone or WhatsApp is the best?
Either one. Just either one, I
WhatsApp?
think should be.
I call him on WhatsApp.
All right,
Yeah.
you hang on. Let me call him.
You call him. Really gonna call you.
But in the meantime, Danny, one of the things that I wanted to point out is up to us. One of the things I wanted to point out, it is up to all of us to bring awareness. I'm in a group with Brother Dennis, and I think Wendy, you're in that group with Sabrina, and these are real robust discussion about what we need to do. And Danny has been posting on Caribbean Life Radio and Caribbeanliftv's platform and been bringing awareness to this tragedy. So each one of us, I just saw from the young lady in Maryland, she just showed me a flyer where there's a petition to raise the boat, and people are actually petitioning now. And we were able to see a flyer out. I don't know if it's in New York, but collectively in the diaspora, we need to do more. And it's up to us. If we wait on the government, we're never going to get it done. So thank you for posting. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, everyone that is saying something, sharing something about this tragedy in Guyana.
All right, Dr. Adams, you can go ahead.
Yes, good night, everybody. Yeah, sorry that I can't make it, but, I join with you guys with expressing our deep sympathy to the families and of course, to all of the people of Guyana with this tragic situation. And I compliment you folks for your vigil, and sorry that I couldn't be there. But this here is and I know that it's been in the media every day, but it's been a tragic situation, and I know people saying they don't want to make it political, but everything is politics. And this here was because of the politics and the decision making of the government in terms of oversight that this has happened. I don't have to go through the details, but obviously there was no care in terms of proper, strong institutions. And when we look at, we keep, going after these specific incidents, but it's a bigger picture. Today it's going to be, this boat that sinks tomorrow is going to be something else. Someday it's going to be an oil spill. But the one mantra that at least I have worked with which the U.S. government worked with, all accidents are preventable. However, you have to have the strong regulations, the proper laws that are in place, but the most important thing you have to have implementation, monitoring, and to make sure that these laws and procedures and protocols are properly implemented, which means proper oversight. And that's what's been lacking in Guyana. I'm sure they're going to find some law to say, and even controls to say, the boat should not have had more than 150 people. It should not have had a certain amount of load above a certain limit. But that's only on paper, which is the major problem in Guyana. And I can tell you that when I joined the EPA, we did not even know how many companies we had operating. Even though we issued permits to every single company, we couldn't find permits, environmental permits, and you had to issue a permit before a company can even start. You had to go and inspect that company's operation to make sure that they're putting in place what they claim they're going to be doing and how they're going to be protecting the health, safety, and the environment. We could not even find permits in the agency. When I asked them how many permits we had, they said, well, we probably have about 1,000 operations. I took a time out for several months and to check. When we checked, it was over 2,000. And some of the permits, some operations were operating without permits. Some had expired for over 15 years. Again, and I mentioned the EPA because I saw that firsthand, but it's the exact same thing that happens in all of these ministries. This here is another example. You hear the minister comes out and say, or everybody's coming out and say that the boats are not supposed to carry above a certain limit. Well, nobody is checking on that. You've got corruption and everything else that may be happening that exceeds these capacities. So it's just the strong institutions, which is way beyond just this boat incident, because I can guarantee you another incident is going to occur. You remember we had with the 19 Armenian young ladies that died. And you remember what had happened there? They had all the windows and everything, barred up. They couldn't even get out of the place. So it's a bigger issue than just this boat. But of course, it's a sad situation for the families and their loved ones. When I saw that, I almost cried. One family lost 7 people. I think it's a 10-year-old young lady. She lost, I think, her father or her mother, brother, and sister or something. So she's left alone. But this, I hate to say it, but these incidents are going to continue to occur. If things don't change in terms of governance of how we govern these operations, because remember, Guyana is open to the world now. Everybody's attracted to Guyana, so you're gonna have companies coming in and wanting to do what they want to do without any respect for people's health, safety, and the environment. I can tell you that for a fact, and you can see it. When you build the highest hazard facility in that gas, the energy facility, right in the heart of the most populated center, without a feasibility study, even though the contract called for a feasibility study, but worse than that, without an environmental impact assessment. You built right in the heart of the city. And that's the most hazardous project we've ever built. You're dealing with high pressure gas, high temperature, because that's what you're doing. You're bringing the gas to shore, 50 million cubic feet per day. Is being converted into energy and everything else. If you have an explosion, I'm sure that many people remember the Bhopal explosion in India. If you have an explosion to start with, we don't have an emergency plan. It's right in the heart of Guyana, and I know how many of you have been home here recently to see what the traffic is. Who are going to be the people responding to such an incident? but it's a bigger picture. This here is just a symptom, and it's a telltale sign as to what this country could expect in the future. But as far as this incident is concerned, it's probably the saddest day. And then you hear things that they don't want to bring up the boat. They even get the evidence as to what caused it to try and make sure it doesn't happen again. Again, it's all about governance. It's and then of course the whole politics of it. You go and you lock up, you charge the 3 workers for murder. When it always goes to the top, and it must always goes to the top. This here is not, this is not the first time that they were overloading this boat. We can all guarantee that. But it's part of the practice and what is being allowed because of the leadership. And when I say leadership, it goes right up to the top. Right up to the top, because that's what's allowed not only on this boat. We need to stop focusing on these little things. It's the bigger picture, because the same exact slackness that is happening at transport and harbors, I guarantee it's happening all over the place. It's even happening at the most important agency when it comes to protection of safety and health in the environment, which is the EPA. I can guarantee that, because everything that we put in place at the EPA when I was there, they have dismantled them. They've totally dismantled them. And we don't even have anybody, even though we're putting that in place to train people, all of that has been canceled. But it's happening all over the government agencies and ministries. That's guaranteed. I know that for a fact. So this here is just what I call a precursor of other things to done, and it exposes the poor oversight by the government.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Dr. Adams, for your time.
Before he goes, do you have anything to say about the raising of the ship?
Absolutely should be raised. It's the most ridiculous thing that I've ever heard. But again, that is the modus operandi. When you want to cover up something, that's exactly what it is. And then you hear, you see this letter about offering that they're saying that their relatives are claiming that their relatives just want to settle, basically, and they don't want it to live. That's absolute nonsense. And we remember, don't forget what happened with those 19 young kids, those young girls that died from that fire. And the government just went away quietly. And it was, they were settled, I can't even remember, just for a couple of $million Guyana dollars for each of their lives. And everything is just washed away, which is what I believe is being attempted here also. And, it's the vigils like these that bring attention to these atrocities that would help for them to change their mind. But absolutely that boat should be lifted. That's the only way you're going to get the evidence to figure out what to do next. But of course, we know that they probably don't want the evidence to be revealed.
So no one can intervene. I know they have the COI. You're trying to tell me none of these people can talk to the president. Let's start with him.
No, but here, let's deal with the COI. And this is where I'm disappointed in the opposition. And I even wrote a recommended, very short rejection of that COI. We should have never accepted that COI. You can't tell me that the government that is responsible, I don't care whether they want to say the lower employees or not, it goes to the top. It's the government that is responsible. And then the government goes and appoints a COI without even consulting with the opposition. Who do you think they're going to appoint? Do you think they're going to appoint people to that COI that is not going to, that is going to say something that indicts the government? Absolutely not. It's the same thing happened with the incident with the 19 young ladies. What happened to that? The COI came out and it didn't mean a thing. But it's really disappointing to me that the opposition has basically they criticized the COI because they even identified to the president. Now they're wanting to see, okay, what is the terms of reference? Well, that's irrelevant. Time you start asking for terms of reference, that means you're accepting that COI. And if you accept the COI up front, when it comes up with its findings, you can criticize the findings, but you accept it an untrustworthy COI to begin with. That COI should have been rejected by the opposition outright. But even today, I saw, the leader of the opposition say, well, they want to see terms of reference. Well, which means you're skipping the rejection part. You're saying, well, okay, we accept you have a COI. We want to see the terms of reference. What are you going to do when you see the terms of reference? You can't change it. So that's, so I think it's a bad mistake to accept the COI, and they're not going to come up with anything that is going to, as far as I'm concerned, that is impartial and fair.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Safe travels, and we'll talk again.
All right, good. Take care.
So I know we're going to wrap up with last words. I'll let you go, Slater, if you can wrap up with last words. And then
Indeed, this was a great and a most gracious gathering tonight, and the sharing of our individual experiences and the support that we have been able to garner. I think we pretty much one voice with respect to what should be done going forward. We said we will support the petition that's being circulated. We're going to try to provide the donations and then make sure that the donations, be it monetary or otherwise, are directed to the right source and reach the right persons. And that I had to speak with the Caribbean shipping to see if they would be able to then communication with Guyana to see how the distribution could be done in a transparent and so that the group here can be satisfied that things are their contributions are protected, and the folks who are going to receive them would be deserving of them. And thank you again, and it was a pleasure, and I enjoyed the experience. And hopefully, this opportunity, this small gathering, is going to have a major result going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I want to thank Sabrina for convening this vigil, and thanks Caribbeanlifetv for offering their facilities to host this event. And I also want to again offer my condolences and support to the families that have really suffered and are really going through a traumatic experience. And to piggyback on what Malika said, mental health and some form of mental health counseling for all the families involved is really, really, very, very critical on how that can be arranged or put in place. I'm not too sure how we can do that, but it's a very, very good point that she made. Thank you very much, folks.
Yeah. Thank you, Sabrina. My silence is not indicative of insensitivity, but control of anger. What we are doing as the church in Guyana, I'm going to call names, the Assemblies of God, General Bishop John Oswald Smith. We have already, last Tuesday evening, with DJ Quinn, had a panel concerning bereavement, coordination, and spiritual care, and yes, my sister, mental health. A whole panel of us who serve not only as people who preach, we have both the burning and the learning. We're educated people in psychology and other things. We serve as chaplains and bereavement coordinators and Christian clinical psychologists. So we are putting together that, and Brother Slater will be talking about that. I know you met with my brother this evening. So we're doing things, but I want to say this as I tender my condolences and respect to the families that have lost loved ones and to all of us that are very much incensed by this gross negligence of the government. I just want to say to us that we can speak. We're good at speaking. We're good at getting angry and shouting at the wall. But I just wanted to go public that we will not tolerate this kind of nonsense from any government. We have a very strong voice globally as a church. I am the Metropolitan Archbishop of it. And we shall indeed be seeking other avenues, not excluding legal, to bring what we call speaking truth to power, to bring this government into the reality of the 21st century and human justice. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to read before I give my last comments, and then we have an audio for you. Minister Samantha Samuels, she's the founder and CEO of Young Dreamers International, minister of Tabernacle of Praise Church International. And I just want to read some words that she sent us today. And she said, "Today we come before your throne of grace with heavy hearts, lifting up every family affected by the MV Burima tragedy. Lord, we pray for those who lost their lives. We pray for the families who continue to grieve, especially those who have not yet found the bodies of their loved ones and have been denied the closure they desperately seek. We pray for those who continue to live with deep trauma because of this tragedy. Draw near to them, Lord, for you are close to the brokenhearted, and you save those who are crushed in spirit. As the Apostle Paul testified, though he once persecuted your people, you transformed him by your grace and use his life to proclaim the gospel. Thank you that your mercy reaches even the least deserving. May every heart be drawn to repentance, truth, and saving power of Jesus Christ." Sorry. I'm glad we've broadcast this, so whomever is listening, together with a Slater, an Archbishop, Marcus, myself, and some of you who know that we have folks back home that we can rely on and trust, and they've offered to do that. So with the leadership and guidance, of course with Caribbean International Shipping that can help us send, we will do that. Because breadwinners of homes are no longer there. Mothers are no longer there. You offered a playground to children that are no longer there. How insensitive. Villages of people gone. That's what's happened here. And with all the cries, I cannot say this enough. Somebody needs to touch our president. Somebody needs to touch him. This is where we talk about people over party, compassion over division. You have to find it. We all have it. You choose to be selective with it. And in that, you further traumatize a group of people, your indigenous people, your nationals, your citizens. People want to compare this to a Jim Jones. This is on our land, our people. And this government and the people who have the means to said, let us at least bring that ship up. And then we can go to work and put some systems in place like we all have echoed here. With your Stellans, your proper ferries. They have the money. Why won't you do it? What I don't want, Slater, is for people to act. I feel as though they're provoking them to do that. And we don't want that. Because that's when it spills into the streets and people are going to get hurt. They're already dealing with that trauma and the loss of lives. So bring the dignity back to those people. That's all they want. Bring up the ship and show the Guyanese government, the Guyanese people, that if you don't do anything in your presidency, this you can do right by. You still have time to turn this around and fix it. And then work together with the opposition parties. Come to the table. This is not the time for titles. I'm sick of it. This is the time to show the action of the titles that you hold. All these ministers. When I talk about, or when I see, I should say, all these titles, what really is your position? Do you know the scope of work you're supposed to do? Because what happened there, none of you are doing it. You are not showing us what a minister of public works or whatever the minister role is. It's the safety of what? Your people. And right now, no one came on Guyana's land and did this to their nationals. Your own vessel did that. So it's on your hands. Friends call me, Sabrina, did you see CNN? They saw it before I did. Imagine that. I have the text. So when the global community is so concerned and you're not, but I'll say this, you can turn this around. Please do that. Please do that. Please stop the infighting. Please show good governance. Please show leadership. And says, I'm going to turn this around. And then you can start to repair. No money in the world will bring those families back. But as I see it, maybe you can set up trust funds and things like that. Because if they've lost everything, you now have to come and give them something brand new to start all over again. As we know it, there is no ferry running now. Those people go to the capital to sell. Buy and sell. And right now, you go to bed at night and know that they have no way out of that region. The one source of transportation is gone. Bring the ship up. Let's have a dialogue. Heck, I'll interview y'all. You know, I'm not about this party, that party. I'm about getting to the human side of leaders. They have it. Somebody needs to help them find it. So thank you all for listening. DJ Reds, if you can play that song. I was on the Global Spend last night, and I had my daughter cut and clip this, and I want the words the minute it starts. You hear, and there's a video that goes with this as well, but we'll listen to the words. I'm not sure who the artist is, but I would like to know. But it speaks to the core of what's happened.
From Georgetown shore they left at dawn, toward Port Kaituma they rowed. Mothers, fathers, children close, and workers on that road. They carried hope in quiet hands and faces turned toward home. No one knew the evening clouds would leave them far from home. The night came down on open water and fear moved through the dark. Still every heart was holding on to one small waiting spark. Jesus, hold us through the darkest waters. Carry Silence fills the air. Survivors awake with trembling dreams and memories they bear. Yet mercy walks with shaking steps, and Jesus meets them there. The fisher folk keep searching still. The rescue teams press on. Divers, medics, neighbors come until the night is gone. Jesus, hold us through the darkest water. Carry every heart that cannot stand. Give your peace to every grieving family. Lord, keep Guyana in your hands. Jesus, hold us through the darkest waters. Be our refuge in the stormy sea. Near the broken, near the hurting. Stay with us and set us free. You hear each cry that rises up. You know each weary name. You remember every life with love and hold each tear the same. When words are gone, you still remain. When reasons slip away, be present in our mourning. Be our strength today. Guyana will not grieve alone. Your comfort will not cease. One day you'll wipe away all tears and lead us into peace. Jesus, hold us through the darkest waters. Carry every heart that cannot stand.
Thank you, audience. Thank you for your words. And I believe we've been out on the airwaves, huh?
Yes, you have. You have.
Mr. Lawrence, you want to talk about Caribbean Life TV?
You can.
No.
One thing before we wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, everyone, please go on Facebook, go on YouTube, go to the Caribbean Life Radio station channel, find the program, start the conversation in the comments, right? We're having this conversation here, but it needs to go out to the world. And a lot of times people call, they leave you messages, they'll send you texts, they see things. That doesn't do anything. Make it public, right? So if everyone in here, think about that, if everyone in here goes on the page and leave a comment pertaining to the conversation and spark that conversation, you don't know where it can go to and where it can reach. So let's be diligent about that and make sure we get that done, and also share the link to people. You can go there, there's a button that you can share the link to your community. If there are 20 of us in here and each one of us have 100 people that we share things to, think of the reach that that program is going to have and the attention that it's going to reach. All right, so let's be diligent about that and make sure we get that done, and ask people to do the same thing. Share the conversation and leave comments so that the conversation can happen and it can get somewhere.
Thank you. Lawrence?
Well, Governor, you said it best. First, I want to say I give God the glory for this meeting, this vigil. Thank you, Sabrina, for picking up the phone and having a conversation with me. Brother Reds, my business partner, thank you for always saying yes. You know, this is a tragedy that could affect all of us, because there's ferries throughout the Caribbean. and we could get this right and be the example of what's renewed, right? Accountability. That's some of the conversations in the room. Accountability. So thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for always leading this type of conversation in our community. And I am honored to start a platform since 2018. And you've been there from the very beginning. And to see us use this platform all these years later to be impactful to our community, regardless of what it is. Whether it's the flooding in Kokwani, you were present. Regardless of the tragedy or whatever is happening in our country, you are present. So thank you for your leadership. Brother Slater, thank you for the experience of bringing me to Buxton and letting me feed the kids and see what we in the diaspora could do. Thank you for that experience. Brother Marcus, thank you for allowing me on the board of directors for the Guyana Association and help me with leadership in this community. Thank you. And my bishop friend, thank you for always a good word guiding me behind the scenes. Thank you. So everyone in this room, like Brother Governor said, can do something about what we just did. This program, because of Red's engineering and what we have put together, is on Facebook. You could go to Sabrina's page, it's tagged. You could go to Brother Marcus' page, it's tagged. Brother Slater's page is tagged. I didn't have your page. But what I'm saying is that I wanted to make sure that what you guys were doing and saying was multiplied. So the multiplication has already happened. Sister Marlene, I read her tonight, but I tagged her. Exactly what Governor said. Each one of us could go to Caribbean Life TV on YouTube and on Facebook, or any one of the leaders on the stage, any one of your pages, and this live lives. All it needs to do is be shared. So thank you on behalf of Caribbean Life TV, Caribbean Life Radio, Brother Reds, and everyone that helped to make this happen. We thank you for choosing us. We're going to always be there for the community. Thanks again.
Thank you.